How does a buyer cancel a contract, and what happens to that sweet earnest money?
That's what we're talking about today.
I'm Jason Christiansen, a loan officer.
I'm Aric Wiszt, real estate agent.
I'm Tyler Cazier, real estate agent.
We're talking about the real estate purchase contract, the REPC. Actually, we're going to be talking about how to get out of it.
And something important to know about getting out of it is you have to know about earnest money. What's earnest money?
Earnest money is money that the buyer gives to escrow to show that they have an earnest intent on that contract.
Okay. So I have a client that has, we're looking at buying a $500,000 home, and they're putting $5,000 towards earnest money.
1%.
1%.
Yeah, right. And that $5,000 says, hey, I'm serious about buying this house, just like you were saying. In a contract, there are a bunch of deadlines. What happens if you miss a deadline?
Well, first, if you've missed it entirely and you're the buyer and you want to back out, the seller keeps your earnest money.
You don't. That's the cancellation price.
Right. And that's why it's important, and that's why sellers like to see like a 1%. I in earnest want to buy your home. I want to buy your home this bad. This is how much money I'm willing to lose if I don't keep my end of the deal.
Okay. So what happens if I back out during the proper time?
Then you get your earnest money back. If you've met the terms of the contract.
Okay.
If you back out because you did your due diligence before the due diligence deadline, or you didn't get financing in time for the financing appraisal deadline, or didn't appraise, that works.
Okay.
But if you're outside those, other things happen.
So there's a lot of different things, and always talk and get information with your loan officers and agents. What about if a seller wants to back out of a contract? How does that happen? Because the REPC is written to cater and to favor the buyer.
Totally.
Right. Well, if the seller needs to back out for some reason, say another buyer comes with a lot more money on the table and they want to go to that buyer now and cut this other buyer loose, they can default the contract, but they're going to have to pay the earnest money out.
Right.
They're going to have to so the escrow will give the money back to the buyer, and then the seller is going to have to match that earnest money and give that to the buyer as I'm sorry, I backed out.
So on that
contract.
$5,000 earnest money that my buyer put down towards, I get that refunded back to me from escrow.
Get $5,000 back.
And then the seller writes a check for another $5,000.
Right, I'm going to have to come up with $5,000
Okay.
as
So wait.
sellers and give it to the buyers.
What if the buyer says that's not good enough?
Then you're in a lawsuit. You're going to end. Either the buyer can compel them through a lawsuit to move to the transaction. It's called performing in the contract. You have to compel them to perform, or you can take them to court and sue them for damages.
For other losses.
Yeah,
That's it.
and those are the remedies. There you go. So that's what happens to earnest money.
So, what did we learn today?
The buyer's got to put up earnest money in order to get a transaction moving.
Okay, and earnest money is tied to deadlines.
And if you miss those deadlines, there's remedies, but it'll cost you.
So don't be a knucklehead.
Share this video with your friends, like and subscribe, and you'll get to keep all the earnest money you put down to watch this video.